What can we do as a family to help them better manage their emotions? Unfortunately, this is something that is often learned as an adult, mostly through trial and error, mainly because it's not taught in school. I don't know. Nowadays, there are schools that are introducing emotional education to a greater extent, but it's generally not something that's very normalized. So, unfortunately, we as parents have this shortcoming, but teenagers face another disadvantage, which is the hormonal ups and downs of their age, and perhaps their parents are not the people they will listen to the most. Because teenagers tend to listen more to their peer group, to their friends, right? But I believe we should always work on a parent-child bond based on respect. I respect your space as a teenager, I'm here as a safe place, but I want to convey how important it is for you to question things, to have doubts. Teenagers spend years copying the influencer they like, dressing like the cool friend in the group, repeating the words a classmate said, and saying, now the teacher says this, and I think it, but the other day, Pepe told me something else, and I also. In the end, they go along with what they hear, and I think it's crucial to teach a teenager to have self-criticism, to question, to ask themselves things, to introspect, to say, okay, what's going on with me? How do I feel? Where does it hurt? Have I made this mistake multiple times? Are these patterns that repeat in me? Are these things I frequently do? And the harm that others are causing me, do I really think I deserve that? Because this friend got angry with me. Okay, but instead of acting in this amygdala hijack, I'm going to sit down for a moment and try to think about what he did, what I did, how he might have felt, how I felt, and what my opinion is about it. Teenagers need to be taught to draw conclusions, but on their own. In other words, conclusions by themselves. We need to teach them to question and introspect. What are my strengths? What do I want in my life? What kind of person do I want to have in my life? Because teenagers have a mix of friends who are completely different, who may not bring anything positive to their lives, who hurt them. They get along with one, but the other treats them badly, another excludes them, another ignores them in class, and you say, but why are you friends with people who hurt you? Because no one has taught them to choose. And this happens to them, but it happens to us as adults too, as we grow up and say, wow, what a mess. Because I'm surrounded by people, and half of them don't bring anything to my life. And you start running out of friends in adulthood and say, am I losing my friends? No, it's because in adolescence, you didn't filter. When you were younger, you didn't filter, and now you start to filter. You start to filter, and they start to filter you, too. We're not going to get into the victim mentality of everyone hurting me, but I'm a saint. That's not true. But we start to filter, we start to choose our peace of mind, we start to realize that someone who treats me well one day doesn't have to be my best friend. Because for teenagers, it's like, do I get along with him? He's my best friend. Do I get along with that one? Well, also. Then there's an argument, but we'll fix it. Did he do something terrible? It doesn't matter, I forgive him. We need to teach teenagers to set boundaries so they don't learn this too late in adulthood. But I'm also a strong advocate for giving them some freedom to make mistakes and not paving the way for them. In the end, we've all been teenagers, and we've all learned. It's necessary, but if we learn through introspection, it's much better. Emotions are what happen within us based on what happens outside of us, right? And I believe it's important to note that they don't always align perfectly. That's why we've talked about the amygdala hijack, right? But it's true that sometimes we need to pause and say, okay, regardless of all these feelings I'm experiencing, what is the objective reality of what's happening? For example, my partner is talking to another girl. Is something serious happening? No, but I might feel jealous, and I could go and create a scene, or I could wait for my partner to come and create a scene, or I could stop talking to them and punish them for something that has bothered me. And here, I think there's a mistake, which is that emotions are wonderful, and they tell us many things, sometimes about the external world and sometimes about our inner world, right? In this case, they're telling us something about our inner world, that we don't feel completely secure in the relationship, whether due to our attachment style or past experiences. But they are trying to convey something, we should listen to them, but we don't always have to act accordingly. When I understand that what's happening outside is not the same as how I'm perceiving it, I acknowledge this reaction within me. Okay, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling insecure, but that doesn't mean I'm going to attack my partner or seek validation from an external person who tells me, no, nothing was happening, I'm not being unfaithful, I was just talking to her for work. I don't need that because he and I see the same thing, we see that reality, he's talking to a girl, and I have no reason to be upset about it, right? So, it's important that when we feel something, we don't immediately turn to the other person for answers about what I felt. In other words, if I felt it, I seek answers within myself. And if I see that it's causing me a lot of distress, we should also normalize telling our partner later, "Look, honey, I got angry about something I knew I had no right to get angry about, that's why I didn't say anything at the moment, but I felt insecure when I saw you talking to this girl. Don't worry, I've already realized it wasn't normal, but I wanted to share it with you because we're a couple, and I want to communicate with you." So, I do consider it important to validate and interpret appropriately, beyond all the feelings, what's happening externally, so that we can also be aware when external people are trying to make us feel a certain way, small, mistreated. I mean, if we're always seeking validation from what others tell us, they will manipulate us because many times we'll encounter people who will twist things. So, we need to pause everything, think, okay, what am I seeing, and what do I understand? And from here, how am I going to interpret it? Because there are people who make us feel small. If you seek validation from the right person, that's great, but if you seek it from the wrong person, what then? You need to have an almost immovable axis within you that says, this is acceptable, this is not, this I can tolerate, this I can't. Stop, think, and how do you interpret the external world, right?